I had a really, really peaceful, quiet. My mind was opened, and I allowed the ancestors to speak, and it was good because I know that what I'm doing right now, I need to share this information. If it's not just for the benefit of anybody else, it's definitely going to be for my benefit as well. It's something I never talked about. I'm not sure if I even heard it on anybody's show. Some people I think have touched on it, but it's coming from a different perspective. And what I wanted to share with you was about um, my experience with as they call it, a different race relationship.
Okay.
Um, and
Well, before you get in,
I,
did you want to introduce yourself in some way for the
oh,
listeners so
okay,
that they'll know
yeah, sure
who
thing.
they're listening to?
Sure, thanks a lot. This is Takayah Yahasrel over here in Kansas City, Missouri. And I'm just basically a mother of six kids and um, multiple grandkids, and I'm also a mother. I'm also a great grandmother. People don't believe me, but that's okay.
Well, all right then.
Um, they don't believe I'm a grandmother, but it's okay. I'm a health nutritionist. I've been a health nutritionist since '92. After going into nursing school and finding out all the things that chemicals that was in the prescription drugs, so I never took another prescription drug from that time on, or over the counter. Um, Healed myself of cancer and fibroid tumors naturally. Um, have done a lot of speaking engagements to other women, building them, sharing with them how to love themselves and heal themselves as well. Um, and basically, I'm in love with the global Black community.
Well, that says a
We've
lot.
been,
That definitely says a lot.
yes,
Well,
in love with
welcome,
the
welcome,
global.
welcome to the show. I
Thank
understand that
you.
you have some great information from, as you said, a different perspective that I know the listeners are going to want to hear. And so, without any further ado, I'm just going to close my mouth and let you have it.
Oh, you no, I'd like for you to talk because I need your input. I would love your input on anything that I share. I am definitely gonna need some input on whether I'm doing the right thing. I think I am, but I still like feedback, and
Okay.
your feedback has a lot of wisdom in it. Miss Carter, you're the reason why that I'm even here today. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what happened was I wound up in a relationship with the guy that I've been in with for I know about um my middle daughter just turned 38, 37, 35 years. And through that course of time at the beginning of what caused that relationship to last so long was I wind up getting pregnant with a child after having a complete tube ligation done on me after I had my daughter who's now 38. And what caused me to even get involved in this relationship, and yes, this relationship um, was due to, let me just back up a little. Let me just back up.
Take your
My
time.
life,
Mm-hmm.
I've shared my story before on the show, but I wanted to share a different perspective of my life concerning the relationships that I was in with other people outside my own race. And what happened was, during the course of time, at being 15 years old, being raped by a black man and a black young man, and getting pregnant with a child that almost killed me. I kind of got through that period. It was okay. I used it. I used my inner strength to strengthen me to say, okay, this was an experience. I didn't call it that at that time. I didn't know what to call it. I just felt like, okay, this was a bad. I didn't call it a bad experience. I just said, okay, this is something that happened to me. I have to go forward. I
Right.
have to go forward. So I didn't use it as a bad thing. And with the help of my parents, I come from a family of 11 kids, mother and dad, well, mother and stepdad, wonderful stepdad. And, through all I had seven brothers and three sisters, including myself, I'm number four. but through all the family helping and intervening in there, it was okay. So I didn't have a lot of burden on me with the child, and my mom and my dad knew that I was a young teenager, and they knew I wanted to go back to school and get my education, which I did, but later, not at that time. Um, was okay. So now I have this little boy, and about 2 years later, I meet this um, amazing ex-military black man, and he knows about what happened to me, and you know, um, we kind of like got together, and I don't want to say fell in love because it wasn't any falling there. We just kind of like wind up being with each other, and wind up moving from Kansas City to Colorado Springs with my sister and her husband, and they are the ones that initiated that him and I get married. Now,
Okay.
I I didn't know anything about. I mean, I didn't understand the whole formality of marriage. I knew marriage was a very serious thing because of my mom and dad. So I knew that when you got with someone like that and you got married, that was like a permanent spot. But what happened was when I went up to the altar with this guy at the courthouse, my sister and husband took us to the courthouse in Colorado Springs, and when that guy starts saying those vows to me, and the words of those vows that was coming out of his mouth, I knew that this was something I had to take very serious.
Right.
So I listened. It took me a second or two to say I do because I was internalizing these words.
Mhm.
So everybody kind of stood there and looked at me. And me behind what was going on, and I just kind of snapped out of it and looked around everybody and went, they're looking at me. What do signaling me on to say I do, and I went, oh, I do. And so everybody starts laughing, and so did the man that I married, and we got through that period. Um, I don't know what happened during that time, but I know 2 years into the marriage, he was. I don't think he was ready for something like that, and there were some problems. I got pregnant with my second child by him, and I gave birth to a daughter, and a beautiful daughter, which was my eldest. And during that period, um, I, I, he was not ready to settle down, and I didn't have any, deep teaching from my mom about men and relationships, and that men will cheat on you, but that's your husband. Stick it out. It'll be okay. Da da da. So I just felt like, well, the vows that we took was that's what you had to abide by, no matter what. So one thing led to another, and I caught him cheating on me, and I just could take it, and so we got into it, and he picked me up and he threw me across the living room, and I landed on my back.
Mm.
And it scared me to think that a man would do something like that to me. And he walked out of our place. And I was so afraid at that time because I was there with two kids living in an area of town that I wasn't familiar with, far away from my parents. And sure enough, 2 days later, there was a knock on my apartment door. And when I went to the door, and instead of me looking through the peephole, I had the chain on the door. And I'm sharing all this because I'm gonna get to a point. And as I put as there was a chain across the door, instead of me looking through the peephole, I opened the door and I looked at the guy that was standing down the hall, and I said, "Yes, can I help you?" And he kicked my door open and bust the chain off, and he was coming in to rape me.
Wow. Wow.
And I was, he was. I realized who he was. He was a friend that my husband had met at the armor place he had worked at. He was a steel man at this Armco Steel that's here, my husband and him. And he was one of his friends that they part over and play cards. Well, he must have been looking at me, okay?
Right.
And he knew what my husband was out there doing. He knew my husband was cheating on me. So now he's coming over. He knows my husband's gone. He's kicked my door open and he's coming in and he's telling me he's going to rape me. And so I'm looking at him, and without him knowing, I had went to the doctor to get something for my tooth because I had a toothache, and there was some penicillin. And so when he said that, I said, "Well, I'm taking penicillin," and he said, "What's that got to do anything?" I said, "I have gonorrhea, so whatever. Come on then." And he goes, "They don't give you penicillin for gonorrhea; they give you a shot." And I said, "Well, I got it so bad they gave me both." And
Good
and
thinking.
that
Good thinking.
and he looked at me with such fierce anger in his eyes. He said, "You little slut, you little nasty thing, you did." And then he must have realized, oh, he did this to her, and he just turned around and he just ran out of my apartment. And I slammed the door shut and I locked it, and I called my parents and I told my parents what happened. And so immediately my dad came down, my brothers all came down. They found out that he had left. They emptied out my apartment and moved me back out to the house and put all my stuff in storage and brought me home.
Okay.
So that was my third interesting experience with Black men in my life. And I have all these wonderful brothers. I have 7 wonderful brothers, and that whole thing just kind of blew my mind with these other men because I'm, thinking about how wonderful my brothers are and how wonderful they treat me compared to these men. So now, moving fast forward in my life, and I'm working for a Fortune 500 company. I'm about 22, 23 years old at the time.
You know what? I'm sorry. Can I pause you on that? Hold that thought.
No, go ahead.
I just want to before you move into another segment, I wanted to mention to you when you were talking about not having had the guidance in realizing that men are going to cheat and how to just stick it on out and honor your vows, etc. I just wanted to share with you, men, and not just men, but anybody is going to treat you how you allow them to treat you. If they're cheating on you and it bothers you, you don't have to stay because of vows. I'm die hard. I believe in honoring my commitment and honoring my vows. But if you are unable to, if the cheat creates such a breach in you that the trust cannot be rebuilt, why live miserably?
Okay.
Now, of course, there would be some things that would need to be done. Obviously, you would hope that it would be a one-time cheat and the corrections are made and you both step up your game when you're in to rekindle the love and blossom the relationship. And in those situations, I would always recommend try and stay together, try to work it out. But if you are one of those people, and some people can't, some people just are not able to reconcile with things like that, don't live miserably just because of a vow, because there are what's the word I want to say? There are not exceptions, but yes, for lack of another word, there are exceptions that or provisions that allow you to not remain in that relationship under those circumstances. So wanted to highlight that. Also wanted to highlight the abuse. I just did something the other day. That's definitely a warning sign. You had he has no business to put his hands on you, first of all. And second of all, to lift you up and to remove you from where you were physically and position your body the other side of the room by way of flight.
Yeah.
That's and I'm sorry you had to go through that. I feel for you. You know my story. I've been there as well. But I can say it's all the times that we've been talking, you didn't let no grass grow under your feet. It didn't cause you not to have life. It didn't cause you not to produce, to prosper, and to move on. So, toodaloos to him. But go ahead. I just want to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate. No, those words resonate so deep. I appreciate you saying that. You're the first person that has ever said that to me. That because even though I knew I had those vows, and I did reconcile with him twice prior to that, and people were telling me he was cheating on me, but it's like, yeah, if I don't see it, I'm not going to listen to you, because I know there were people out there that wanted to break us up anyway. So yeah, I did. I took him back twice, 3 times. That was the third time that I had taken him back. And but that time I actually caught him with her. They weren't sexually together, but they were both asleep at our apartment on the floor when I got home.
In
And
your house.
I'll tell you something that happened. I'll just tell you the story about that whole incident. I took out a pole out of the closet. They were both asleep. They had both been drinking, and he had abandoned me at my mom's. And a friend of my mom had taken me home early that morning. And I made the kids go into the bedroom. I shut the bedroom door, which was at the other end of the apartment hall. And I stepped over their bodies, and I opened up the closet door, and I took the pole, a wooden pole that you hang your coats on, out of the closet, and I proceeded to beat both of them.
Was you expected to do something else? I mean, really?
I started beating her, and she started screaming, and he woke up and he said, "Don't be beating on her. She's drunk." And I looked at him. I said, "Then I'm coming after you." And I went after him. So I was beating both of them, but they was running out of the apartment, and I was weeping. I was weeping and beating them with that pole, and he couldn't take it from me because of the way I was swinging that pole. Neither one of them could take it away from me. So they had bruises and black eyes and bumps on their heads because I was swinging with every strength of my body with that pole.
Well, I bet they remember that.
Yeah, but like I said, he came back and picked me up and threw me across the room, and that's what happened. And after that, that was it. That was
right.
It was done. So my next experience in life, I was a little older, and I met a man, 10 years my senior, and he was a wonderful man when I met him. He was funny, he was witty. I really connected with him. I was working at Hallmark Cards at that time. I was making pretty good money. He was making pretty good money. He was a contract worker. He had his own business. So we were in the money. And I had those 2 kids. I was on birth control pills. Hello, everybody. Yes, I was. I was on birth control pills. And so, but 2 years into our relationship, I wind up getting pregnant by this man. And I looked at the doctor and I said, "That's impossible." I said, "I'm taking birth control pills and I'm taking them clockwork." And he's like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, but you're 6 weeks pregnant." And my getting pregnant was, my whole period thing is not like everybody. I had period 2 days and I was off. Okay, that's just how it went.
Okay.
So I was one of those people. And so I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." So anyway, I that was okay. I said okay. He was okay and everything. And I wind up, going back home with my parents. Or, well, I was already at home with my parents still when that was happening. But and so my parents were wonderful people. So I got to stay with them through that and through the baby's birth, of course. And he was there, and everything was fine. And we carried on making money, partying, traveling, and everything. And they put me on a stronger dose of birth control pills because I'm working for this Fortune 500 company making all this money, and I didn't want to have any more kids. So I stayed on the birth control pill, gave me a stronger dose, and I'm not kidding you, 2.5 years later, I got pregnant again by this older
I'm
guy.
sorry, but this gives a whole new meaning to what God has for you is for you. And how do they say, when Jesus said yes, nobody can say no? I'm sorry, that's what come to my mind. So go ahead.
That's okay. And so I'm going, this is insane. This is insane. But lo and behold, after this child's born, and us and all this, I don't know. I think was this influence of his friends, jealousy, or whatever you want to call it. But I got into the modeling. with Hallmark cards. I was doing some modeling and I was doing some TV shows and different things like that here. And I was supposed to go for a photo shoot that day, and he messed my face up. He literally hit me so hard that it disfigured my face
Hmm.
completely. I didn't even recognize who I was. I stood in the mirror and I looked at this disfigured face and I said, I never thought the body could look like that. I never thought anything could look so one-sided. I mean, I'm looking at myself after the initial pain and everything is gone, and my parents now and my brothers now, my family's on the hunt. They're looking to get him because they're going to kill him, and because of my face. And I got this man's 2 kids, and I'm telling you, you can't kill him. He's got 2 kids by me, guys. You need to cool it down a little bit. So they listened, and I, of course, got through that period. And he was begging, pleading, saying he was sorry, da 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 da. And I'm, I'm going, nope, nope, I'm done. And I did not want to have anything else to do with him. I was finished with him. I had left this man alone and hadn't seen this man for probably 2.5 years.
Okay.
And he found out where I lived. I was living with my children in a nice little 2-bedroom house. And and back it up a little bit. My husband that had my first daughter by, when she was 2, he took her from me and left town with her, and I didn't know where she was
Hmm.
prior to that. So I had my eldest son when I met this other guy, and had his 2 children. It was just my eldest son and those 2 kids. But my eldest son was with my parents because they fell in love with him. They felt like they raised him, so he was with them most of the time. And plus, I was working at Hallmark Cards, so it was okay. But now I got my 3 sons. I got a nice 2-bedroom house. Going to work every day. I'm taking care of my kids, being responsible. And this guy finds out where I live. My 2 sons' dad. Now, he had permission to come to my parents' house to see his sons and get his sons, but then he found out where I lived. Oh, God. I guess
Hmm.
I need to talk about this. I never got to talk about this. To the big, anyway, I'm getting some healing right now, so just bear with me. Um,
Take your time. Take your time.
wow. I guess I never got through this period. I call myself doing all these cleanses, but this is one thing I think I didn't do because it's hitting me real hard right now. I'm sorry.
And you may
Um,
have done it, but
mhm,
oftentimes when you have traumatic experiences, you have
mhm.
to heal on many levels. And you
Okay.
may do one healing, and that's kind of a surface, and you'll be fine for 6 months, 6 years, 6 days, however long. And before you
Mhm.
know it, it comes up again. And then it's time for you to
Okay.
go healing at a deeper level. And you keep doing that until you get to a time where the situation comes up and it evokes no negative emotion in you at all. And then you know
Okay.
you're totally
Okay.
done with it.
Okay. Well, there's some going on right now, so bear with me for a minute. I'll get this together. And anyway, he found out where I was, and he came and I hadn't been messing with anybody or sleeping with anybody, and I just gave up on the birth control pills for that whole 2.5 years because I wasn't doing anything. I was being a good little girl, and he found me and pulled a gun on me and he raped me. So now I, I'm done. I am so done. And he when he did it and he left, I called my parents. My parents came up to my house, and they got me and they told me that's it. I was coming back home. I was staying with them, not knowing that I was pregnant. So then, one thing led to another, and I was pregnant. And I, I thought that if I, yeah, I thought that if I go to a church and become a little Christian girl, which I couldn't stand that crap. I'm sorry, I didn't like it, LB. Miss Carter, I could not stand the church. I didn't want to be this little Christian girl. I didn't want to be none of this stuff because I saw too much fakeness in it when I was growing up. My mom never forced me to go or none of us to go, but she wanted to be experienced with that stuff. But I thought that if I go to church and become this good little girl in church and do this and do the right thing, nothing would happen to me. So I go into this church and I'm in the, and these people and the stuff that happened there was just terrible. And I'm down in the bed. I was forced to go downstairs with the little kids in the room downstairs. Lo and behold, this man who have made his way into the church, become friends, and suckered, and these ministers and pastors have suckered him up. And I know it's a fake, but now I was there before he was, so now I'm feeling like, you know, didn't know that he was lying on me to these people, and just terrible lies. And I'm downstairs in the basement with these little babies, with these little wooden chairs and tables in this little nursery, with a half door open at the top. And he walks in this room and he proceeds to beat me in front of these kids.
Wow.
Downstairs while the people were upstairs having services. And the little kids run upstairs screaming, he's beating her, he's beating her. And this minister comes down and he stops him, and these women of the church comes down and they take me out. And they couldn't believe what he had done, but he didn't do any damage to my face or my body. He didn't hurt me at all. He should have, the way he was beating me, but there was nothing, no bruises, no swelling face, nothing. So I knew I was being protected. So now I'm dealing with this. I got to tell you something real funny about this story. I started to take off these 3-inch heels that I had on, and I was going to go back there and I was going to beat him with those heels.
Mm-hmm.
I gotten angry. So now I'm tired of him putting his hands on me, so I'm going to kill him. That's all I thought. I was going to kill him. So I went back. I was walking towards out of the kitchen to go to the nursery with these shoes in my hand, and this 6 foot, I swear to God, she's 6'3", black woman. And she snatched those shoes out of my hand so fast. I turned to her and looked at her, what are you doing? She said, no way.
She's protecting you. Mm-hmm.
And so I said, fine. Well, I had to go past that nursery to go to the women's bathroom on the other end anyway, while he was standing there talking to this minister, big old heavy-set minister guy. And when I walked past it and I saw it, I went into the restroom, and when I got ready, while I was in there, I said, I'm going to hit him with all the strength and all the power that I can muster from you, Creator. I'm going to knock this fool out. That's just what I thought. I walked back past there. He had his back turned to me. I hit him so hard. No, he turned around. When he turned around and saw me, I hit him so hard, his whole body went flying across that room. And the minister yelled, get her, y'all. She's knocked her out. Here's this 6'2" or 6'3". She was 6'3" woman, picks me up around my chest and carries me out there. And I'm swinging, trying to hit her. I'm swinging back. I'm trying to take this big. I'm yelling at her, put me down, sister so-and-so, put me down. And she's, oh my God. So she's taking me out the back door basement of the church, her and 3 other women. And when she gets me outside, she puts me down, and I turn around. I look at her. What are you doing? I'm going to kill him. And I'm trying to go back in to finish the job. And she grabs me. And these other women are like, oh my God. And they didn't know what to do. And she picks me up and she carries me outside the fence of the church and takes me up the street to her house. And she's like, I have never felt so much strength and such a little bitty body in all my life. Oh my God. You knocked that guy out. You knocked him out. You da-da-da-da. I said, that's not what I was trying to do. And they were like, well, what were you trying to do? I said, kill him. So after that, I was done. I didn't go back to that church. I didn't want anything to do with that church. My brothers then went looking for him. I didn't care at that point if they killed him or not. I was 8 months pregnant when he did that. With his daughter, when he jumped on me in that church. Mm. So anyway, I gave birth to this little girl, his little girl. And, by now my mom and them were all like, there's no way you can ever be around this guy. And I said, you got that right. I'm not having anything else to do with him. So I decided at that point, that I'm not going to have anything else to do with him, and I didn't. So for many, 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 many years after that, well, 2 years, 3 years after my little girl was 3 years old, and it was 3 years later, I had nothing to do with any man or anything. And I took a trip to Cape Town, South Africa. Got away from America, met some incredible people over there, had an incredible time over there, and didn't want to come back to America. Wanted to take my kids over there to be finished raising, and tried my best to do that, and I couldn't. But when I came back to America, everybody was like, oh, you need to find a man for the kids. You need, everybody was like, they need a dad, they need somebody. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with any man. So what happened was I got involved in a ministry where we took these teenage kids to different cities all over America. We would get them together every summer and take them to a place called Kennecott Camp, where they
Okay.
could have an experience with outdoor things like that. And I met this guy, and he was I had no idea about I had no understanding or overstanding or anything about mixed races and things like that. I didn't know you could look white and be black. I had none of that understanding whatsoever. So when I met this guy, he was so nice to me. I mean, he was so nice to me. He was so nice to my children. Let me back it up. When I was in that church before this idiot came in there, I had met a guy, a white guy there at that church, and he was nice to me and my kids. But he was just, I kind of looked at him as just a friend, because that's what, I figured that's what he was, being a friend. And then I found out later he was interested in me, but he was really nice. I mean, really nice to me, really nice to the kids. I had bought a house at that time, had a nice car at that time, and and he was in the seminary or cemetery, whatever you call those places. But he was real nice to me and the kids. But I found out later he was interested in me, and the pastor of that church said, I don't do mixed marriages, even though I found out later, years later, that he married his sister to a white guy. But anyway,
Okay.
long story made short, I met this other guy who was also there, who saw some of the mistreatment that they were doing to me, and how they were treating me different than they was all of the other black women in the church. Now I got these 4 kids. And so, there were a lot of single women in the church with kids, and 3, 4, 5, 6 kids and stuff. But there was just something about me and the way I raised my kids that caused these women to turn against me. I don't know. I think they might have been sleeping with the pastor. I don't know. I wasn't sleeping with the pastor. I didn't want nothing to do with the pastor. I didn't want to have nothing to do with none of those guys in there. The pastor, the deacon, all of them were married. I didn't want anything to do with married people. I respected married people, so I didn't want anything to do with them, and I didn't even think they wanted anything to do with me, so I didn't even pay my attention to even go there, and I didn't find out till later that's what was going on. I wasn't sleeping with none of the deacons, none of the pastors, the preacher, nobody, okay? The choir director, none of that.
None of it.
No, I think that's why these women started treating me the way they did, So to make a long story short, this guy that came there, it was him and 2 other Caucasian couple that were there, and they saw the mistreatment that I was enduring in there, and they like, we got to get you out of here. And I'm thinking, they're not mistreating me, and they were like, yes, they are. And so they start telling me things that they were doing, and I wasn't being invited, as they would have these single things for single people, and I was never invited to any of them. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I wound up going to a whole complete different, they took me to one of their churches, which was all white. There was a few blacks in there, but it's like, okay, this is cool. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Well, these people at these white churches treated me nice. I mean, no matter what their agenda was that I didn't know about, but they treated me nice. They treated me nice to take care of my kids. I didn't, my sons, none of my sons and my little girl that I had by him, his last child, I never had to buy them clothes. I never had to worry about shoes. I never had to worry about school supplies. I never had to worry about a place to stay. I never had to worry about rent, water, gas, a vehicle. Never. For 16 years. Okay? Didn't have to ever worry about anything with these kids. These people literally took care of me. Well, during that period in time, my little girl was 3 years old, the one that I had got raped by, and I had met this white guy, and he was real nice to me. And during that time, I lost my dad, my stepdad, and that was very devastating. Now, I hadn't seen him. We did Kennecott Camp for 2 summers, and I hadn't seen him for a year. So when I lost my dad, I guess the word got out that I had lost my dad, and somebody gave him my phone number, and he called me, and he asked me could he take me out, and I said sure. So he had gone through some real troubling times in his life on one spectrum, and I lost my dad on another spectrum. So we were both kind of sharing about, we couldn't understand what all this was about, and I was hurt because the pastor of that church, and I was in that church probably for 6 years, and that pastor never even knew I had a father in my house till he was at my father's funeral. And then he said, I never knew you had a dad in your house by the way you act. I said, my dad knew me, he loved me, and he respected me, and he let me be who I am. And I told him to get the F, and I told him right there to get the F out of my face, and that's exactly what I said to him, get the F out of my face.
This is the pastor at the Caucasian church.
No, this is the pastor at the black church.
Okay.
The all-black church. The Caucasian church, those people were amazing. They helped with my dad's funeral. They helped with food. They helped with everything. I'm telling you, they were amazing to my family. So this Caucasian guy, the second Caucasian guy that I met, was also nice to me, very nice to me. And when I lost my dad, I felt like my spine was ripped out of my back. I was really down, and being as vulnerable as I am, I wasn't practicing sexuality all that time. I mean, I went a total of 11 years, except for one time, without just being with a man. Period. Up to that point, I just didn't want anything. I didn't want anything to do with a man. I was scared. So, but I noticed that the two white guys, which I thought he was white too, and if you see him, you would think he is. But they treated me with more kind and respect than any man I ever met. So when I lost my dad, I was real vulnerable. I wanted to replace a man in my life. Oh my God, I got to get that one done too. Wow, I thought I got through this stuff. Wow. I tried to replace, having a male that could be in my life, and I wind up being with him, and going through all that happened, and he was just really kind and tender to me, and just really sweet to me and my kids. And really sweet to me and my kids, and he was just there. And he's the one that I had the miracle baby by. My last child was his first and only child, and his mom's first and only grandchild. So then I found out that not only was he, he wasn't only Caucasian, he was what you call Milano. And I started finding out stories about his dad's background and who his dad was and what happened to his dad when he was 8. His dad was killed. They said he was accidentally killed between these 2 dump trucks downtown. His brakes went out of his car. Ooh. So when I got the news article out and I started reading it, and my intuition kicked in, and I said, I think your dad was murdered. And he asked me, why would I say that? And I said, look at this article. Look what he was doing. He was writing articles about the Vietnam War and the mistreatment of the blacks that was in the Vietnam War. And the hill where his dad was killed, I used to drive a Metro bus down that hill because I used to be a Metro bus driver.
Okay.
And the area where it happened, that is a really steep hill down there. And what had happened was a dump truck was at the bottom of the hill, and as his father was going to work and he came over that hill, his brakes were gone because when his
Oh,
brakes went, and his car slammed into the back of that dump truck at the bottom of the hill, and another dump truck came over the hill and crushed him.
wow, wow, wow.
And killed his dad when he I think he was 8 years old when that happened. And I told him that story, and he believed me, but it was very painful for him. He rather think that it was an accident than his dad was murdered. But I told him the articles prove the fact, and there's
Right.
nothing we can do to prove it. So anyway, I was talking about all this to say that I wind up being with this last guy for over 35 years, and the reason was it hurts now because I think about how I wind up with this guy and not with one of my black men that I would prefer to have been with.
Mm.
And when I was out today, bathing in the sun, and all this hit me, that's why I called you, because I realized that, there are so many of my black men out here that are hurting. And even though I know he's Milano, and I know about the story about the Milanos being taken from his dad was one of those kids that was taken from a black mother and placed into the white, arena and educated and schooled in that arena. His dad was one of those kids, and he wound up with this woman who is one of the elites, and her brothers found out about him, and that's how he lost his life. And
Wow.
made sure that she married another man who was one of them, which she did, and he had 2 children, and already alive. He had lost his wife, and she wound up with him. Of course, he's still the only child that she had by that man because, of course, they killed him when he was 8. But then I think about how a lot of us as black females wind up with these men, and we never had that chance to be with our own. And I love dark. My brothers are dark.
Mm-hmm.
They're
The
darker
darker
than
the
me.
berry, the sweeter the juice.
I'm telling you. And
Mm.
my dad was dark, and I came out with this light brown caramel skin. I mean, not light, but I'm like a wood color brown, and I get in the sun and I tan real good. I love getting in the sun because I can get real dark, and I used to love getting in the sun so I could get real dark and look like my brothers and my other family members. And so, so I always loved my dark black men, but I was so scared. I became afraid of them after the abuse that I received over the years.
Right.
And I just, even though I looked at them and I admire them, but anytime I saw a black man mistreating a woman, all that would come back up again, and I was afraid. And I just never would open up to them. And I did go out on dates with black men, but they were always real high professional men. And I knew that, there's nothing that would ever become of that because I could smell trouble with them too. So it was just dates, nothing else, just dated them. And I did dates with different people who would come from out of town, executives and different things like that. So we're black men, but I would never have anything sexual to do with them, nothing.
Right.
I just,
Okay.
and they knew that I was not that type of girl. They knew to the point that one of them had his mother call me from Virginia, and I didn't know who it was, and it was like, well, my son was really interested in you. He said you were a really nice girl in that, da-da-da-da, and I was like, okay, I was trying to figure out, why are you calling me? and it was because he wanted me for his wife,
Hmm.
and he was a come to find out he was like a CIA agent, and I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with them people. So I knew all about that stuff, and I was like, and he was a black man, real good looking black man, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with people that have anything to do with Secret Service, military, or anything. That was not my cup of tea. My sisters did, but they were never interested in them. They were always interested in me.
Hmm.
I think that's because my mom married twice. Mr. Pouncil was her second husband, but between those two marriages, my mother was in love with my dad, who she thought she could be with and would be with her after her first divorce, but it never happened. But they got me before
Well,
she got her second. Yeah. So I'm that kid that was born in the middle of these kids. I'm fourth from the youngest of 11. That's who I was before she was married, Mr. Pouncil. I guess Mr. Pouncil said, "I'm getting this. She's mine. So bye." You know, to
mm-hmm.
my father. And Mr. Pouncil was a very, very handsome black. Um, what do you call them? Um, he has Creole. He was Creole.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, pretty Creole, pretty hair. You know, really good looking, sharp. Oh my God, handsome man. And so I grew up, because I never got to see my dad except when I was little one time. So I grew up with Mr. Pouncil. I called him Mr. Pouncil. He let me call him Mr. Pouncil and let me call him Daddy. He didn't care what I called him, but he was really really good to me, because I was that child that if I did something, I would take my spanking standing there. I wouldn't run, but if you try to lie on me, I'll run. And I would tell him, we need to compromise. I've been compromised. Somebody's lying. I was this little bitty kid running around talking about, I've been compromised. And he's like, where's she getting these words from, May? Telling my mother and be laughing. He couldn't spank me because I was like, I'm not. And mom knew. Mom knew. Mom said she didn't do it. Sam, she didn't do it. So I probably got about 5 spankings in my entire life compared to my other brothers and sisters. But they were always trying to blame stuff on me.
Hmm.
Or my mom would call me in and go, when did you last see this? What was this? I said, oh, so and so had it. Didn't know I was snitching on my brothers and sisters. They never
Uh,
told me. They never told me until later. But I said, oh, I saw so and so with that. Okay, go back outside and play. All right, bye. And I'm just outside. I was an outdoor kid, still is. And so my thing, I guess I feel like I've been cheated out of my black men
hmm.
community per se. Um, and there was one black guy um, before I met this last guy that I was with that I got the little girl by, the miracle baby. Um, but he was interested in this other girl, and I'm the type of woman that if you can't make up your mind which one of us you're gonna be with, I'm gonna make it easy for you,
Exactly.
and I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and he told me even at their wedding, I thought you would fight for me. And I
And
looked
I've
at this
heard that
guy
one
and
too.
I said, I don't fight for any man. I figure if a man wants to be with me, he's going to want to come to me and he's going to want to be with me. And I was with him in this house with this woman, her mother, her brothers and sisters, all sitting around the table because his children, he had 2 kids at that time, a little girl and a boy, and they grew up with my kids, basically, in that church that I was telling you about. And
Okay.
he even when I was at his house at the time, I didn't know I was being there to be in competition with this woman. I just thought she was a friend, and we just having a big party at his house. So I didn't find out later till at the wedding, that's what that was set up. That was set up for that, and I was like, well, I guess you got the luck, you got the worst of the straw. That's too bad. So anyway, making a long story short, that was the end of my and there were other the sad part about it, there were other black men in that all black church that was interested in me, but that preacher of that church, he discouraged every last one of those black men from having to have anything to do with me. And they all married other people in that church. so I was like,
Mm.
kind of, well, you know, I guess black men don't want to be with me. And so the first
Well,
guy that was interested in me, the one that showed me the kindness, this guy that I had been with all these years, I just kind of, been with him all that time. But I, I, because I'm sharing this with you, I can feel a little healing coming through that now. But I still do miss my black brothers, my black men, and I know that even more so now, knowing how damaged they've been because of the Willie Lynch and all the atrocities that they've done to them. Now I understand why, as I was growing up, I was always being kind to the elder black men that I ran into, and even today, how when I see a black brother that's hurting, how I will, help them out, giving them money. If I
mm-hmm.
see any of them on the street begging, I'll give them. If I got $3, they got it. If I got 5, they got it. Even if it's my last. And, I share with them hope, for their lives. And, the thing, I had 3 sons, and I had to wind up, I never wanted to raise my children by myself because I felt those boys needed men in their lives. And because I had to be a mother and I couldn't be a father, I could see some of the hurt that was done with those boys.
Mm.
My youngest son is the only one that I'm really, really close to. He's like us. He's on the same, he's into the metaphysics of consciousness. He's not a religious person. He's just a spiritual person. And I got to live with him. I got to live with him for a while, and kind of, we kind of meshed together more so after I moved out than ever before. And we talk more now than any of the other boys. My eldest son is still trying to find himself, and my middle son is just, I think because he's still into the Christianity thing, he just cannot seem to get his act together. So I just let my kids be my kids, be who they are. If they want to contact me, I'll let them do that. I will drop them a note or a line every now and then to tell them how they are my beautiful black sons and how proud I am of them, because they are very successful men.
Mm-hmm.
And even my daughters are. Well, my middle daughter's kind of got some issues because she worked for Ford. Ford Motor Company messes up people's mentalities. That company's horrible. And she's turned into this really arrogant, still sweet, got that sweetness about her, but I can still see that, like a bipolar type stuff going on with her now. And my oldest daughter, because of what her dad did to her, she was angry with me for years because she thought I divorced her husband, and I didn't. And when I showed her the divorce papers, she turned to me at the age of 25 and said, "I hate you even more for the truth." So I was like, well, I'm damned if I said, I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to leave her alone and for a while, but she's come back around now. She's in her late 30s too. Actually, she's not. She's in her 40s, I think. Yeah, she's probably only about 42, 43, somewhere in there. And I could be wrong about that. I don't know the ages of my kids anymore. They grew up too fast. They're great. They're doing wonderful. They're having a great time. But they just really did. They grew up too fast. And so I don't remember their ages. My son, I got raped with when I was 15, and I can't tell you how old he is right now. I don't know.
Well, we get to a point where we do good just to know our own age, let
alone
someone else's. So,
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That made me feel good because I was thinking, I should know my kid's age. No, I don't. My mother did. My mother knew birthdays, ages, but with the computer technology that we have today,
We're
I can
not
remember hundreds.
exercising our brains exactly.
That's the right side of the brain, yes, that right side with numbers. So I'm getting back into that, though. I'm remembering numbers again, so that's really good.
Yes,
But
yes.
I wanted to put that out there to a lot of people or women that may, because I hear a lot about, the our black men and how what's happened to them, and listening to your show and Lance and Brother Kwaku and Raynetta and going through your shows and listening to all the things that you guys are saying, I really felt bad that, I didn't get to experience and didn't get to, in my life, even today, be with a black man, um, being able, because I know that this is what I know now. I know that we are the women that give life to these kids, to these men. And I know that whatever type of background or whatever influence that mother had on that son, that's the influence that will carry over
Into his
unless
relationship.
unless it's drugs or something like that. Because I see how my sons are. I see how some of my brothers are. They love their wives. My brother's problem was the opposite of mine, of course. They had the problem with the women,
Hmm.
knowing that everybody thought we had money in my family because we never lacked anything, and we were always our family was just always like that. I don't think
So
my
good money
my
management means you have money. Okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I think it has a lot to do with the ancestors too that have gone before us, whether or not they were what you call house slaves or
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
or slaves that were treated
Skilled
in
hands.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? They were I shouldn't use the word slaves. I found out that you shouldn't use that word. Prisoners, or were they the ones that built America? They were the ones that came from royalty, that taught uh, the uh, the people here how to do things technology wise and all this other stuff. Because as I look back on my life and on my family's life, yeah, we were in even my grandmother, even my great grandmother, she wasn't even a slave, as they call a slave, a prisoner of America. Um, and so, it's just interesting how I didn't get that chance to experience that relationship with one of our black men, and and I felt kind of cheated. I still do, out of my mission in life, as far as to show or be with someone that can show that true relationship with the man and woman. But the good thing about it, on the flip side, is I have daughters and I have nieces who are married to those type of men now. But they are married to the ones that really impressed me is my niece, who's married to one that's in the same walk as we are right now, and
Okay.
his relationship with her, how it grew into that, because she was always calling me and saying he's saying these weird. She wasn't in a relationship with him. She knew he liked her, and he was always dropping these gems. And she would come back and say, "This guy said this, and this guy said that," and I
Hmm.
said, "But that," and I would say, "Sweetheart, have you tried to Google that and do some research on that?" And she said, "No, Auntie, because it's not, God is God and da 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 da." And she was more into, she was her because of my sister. She was really into that religious stuff. So I said, "I think you need to find out who you are," and that's all I told her. And she
Hmm.
said, "Oh my God, he said the same thing." So she kept calling me back and talking to me, and I was saying things to her that he was saying, and she was telling me that. And so finally, it kicked into her about 2 years ago what was going on, and finally she let go of all that stuff because she started doing research. I started sending her the um, Sanchez was the first guy that I found out about the metaphysics of things, and then it went from that first Sanchez Bonacci to the Sanchez young black guy who was into all of the Egyptianology, where the Christianity came from, and all that. He has his own channel, and then from that to Lance Scurv Show, which I found Lance Scurv Show after I found out about Raynetta Jones, because I was introduced to Raynetta Jones by a guy because I made a comment, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you have to listen to this lady." Now I'm the type of person, I hate videos. I hated YouTube videos. I'll go on there and look at something goofy, look at some old goofy movies, do some goofy exercises and stuff like that. But I hated YouTube videos. I didn't like listening to that stuff. But when I had heard Bacho Samachi, however you pronounce his name, that was great. He kind of got me started on this journey. And then Brother Sanchez kind of picked up behind that. Okay, and then I finally ran into Dr. Sebi.
Okay.
I had heard about Dr. Sebi's in the 80s, but I was already doing mostly all the healing and health stuff because I, healed myself of cancer and fibroid tumors. And then I ran into the guy that I hadn't seen for about 5 years, and he told me about Raynetta Jones. So I clicked on her video and went, whoa, oh my gosh, because I had said something that made him think, oh, you need to watch her video because you're talking the same talk she is. So I watched her video, and then I found out about Lance, and I heard some of his talks, and I was like, this was before I even knew about his brother-in-law. Didn't never hear about his brother-in-law ever. So when I got on, heard Lance talk, and I went, whoa, and then he had that call-in show that I went in there with you and another lady, and you guys were like on fire, and I went, oh my gosh, this is great. So that's where my whole thing started a little bit over 2 years now ago, just listening to you guys mostly, and it's just been onward for that. But my thing is our black men, our black brothers, they are really hurting right now, and it's so big, it's so deep. The scars are so enormous, and the wounds are just plastered over with oozing pus, and that's how I see it. And I cried out to the, whoever had ears to hear, how can we fix all this? How can we fix all this?
That's a powerful question.
So I just do what I can do to encourage them, but I feel like even just a little bit that I can do is nothing compared to the enormous magnitude of our hurting brothers. I mean, when I think about Lance and Kwaku and what happened to them, and that this was family, it really made me dizzy. It really caused me to get really dizzy, and I couldn't wrap my brain around that your family could do something like that to you. And right after that, I ran across one of his some woman that was on the talk show, and she was talking about how her family was trying to kill her. And I couldn't wrap my brain around that.
And it's something very difficult to wrap your brain around, that it's your actual family.
That's what gets because my family is so huge, and it had me paranoid for a while.
Wow.
It had me paranoid for a while with my family. I never thought of it. I mean, I never thought of them doing anything to me, but it did make me paranoid. And so I went back through my Shaka records to look and see, okay, was there any time one of my family was trying to do something to me? And there it was. It was my stepbrother. I don't like to call him step anyway, but it was my mother's eldest son by her first marriage. And I remember this my middle finger on my right hand. I used to suck my two fingers, the middle finger and the pointer finger. I used to suck those when I was a child. And I do remember not being able to, it came back. I remember seeing a white bandage around it where I had, pushed the bandage off to get those two fingers in my mouth because I liked the salty taste in my fingers and didn't realize until Brother Yaga mentioned about the salt in your body.
Mm.
And that's what, and all this stuff started oozing back out of the Ashaka records to me. And I went, oh, it was the salt. Oh, it was the salt in my fingers. And I remember going to my mom before she died in 2005, and I asked her about this knot that sits on the back of my middle finger, that finger that you put up to somebody to say F you with.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I asked her about it, and she went, oh, girl, I don't remember what happened to that. She wouldn't tell me. But guess what? That was 2005. Here we are, 2019. I've been going through all these cleanses by Renata. I've been going through all these cleanses by these books that I'm reading. And guess what? That Ashaka record opened up, and there was my eldest brother bashing my finger with a hammer.
Wow.
And busted and broke that bone in my finger and busted the skin open. And my mother and them had put what you call comfrey on those two fingers, wrapped them with a splinter, and put comfrey on it, wrapped that comfrey on it, and it healed the bone, but it still left the knot because it busted the skin open so badly. And that's when I did not ever remember seeing my brother around the house anymore. I think he would have been 16 or 17 years old at that time. But he was sent away. He couldn't stay there anymore because he had done something even to my younger sister by my stepdaddy, who was 2 years younger than me. I had to be, oh, yeah, that was later because, I was the baby when he did that because I was 3. I could talk real good when I was 1. So when I was 2, I was very verbal. And by the time I was 3, girl, I had very extensive vocabulary.
Oh, okay.
And my mom would take me everywhere, and so people would start up a conversation with me. And she was told by many people throughout my life that young lady her life is going to be different and an incredible life for the rest of your kids. And it has been. That what I'm sharing with you guys are those little initiative things that happened to me during my life with black men, but all throughout those periods and things that happened, there's some incredible, amazing, wonderful stories that took place all throughout my life as I was growing up that would just blow your mind. It would just blow your mind what people did and how I don't care what you want to call them. I saw ghosts. I saw shadows. I saw white floating clouds, if you want to call it. I saw these things happen. I saw my brother at the age of 1 being lowered from the 3rd floor. He did not fall. He landed on what looked like a cloud, and it slowly floated down and set him down on a pile of sand. And
wow.
I went to the door to get the adults in the kitchen at that time to come out that balcony to show my, and I was saying, brother, fall down. I still remember that, pointing and saying, baby, fall down. I said, baby, fall down. I'm pointing. I see the scene. I see everything clear right now. The people that were there, and when we had family reunion, I brought that up. I freaked everybody out. And I was
now, how old were you at the time that happened?
I was a year old. Me and my brother were only 11 months apart. 11 months apart. My birthday was May the 11th, his was May the 7th. That's how close in proximity age we were. When we were 1 year old at the same time till I turned 2 in the same month. Because his birthday was May the 7th, mine was the 11th. And when I told them about this when I was 27 at a family reunion, I freaked everybody out. Uncles, aunts. I remember my uncle's wife, hands being so badly turning red from dishwashing liquid that she put her hands in. They were like a blood red. She was real light yellow, real light skin, mulatto, like that. And but she was so allergic to that stuff. And I told her, she said, "There's no way you can remember that because your cousin and you were the same age, and he was number 1." But I told her, and she couldn't believe it. And I told her about her and my uncle, and she couldn't believe it. She's like, "Oh, my God, come here. What else do you know?" I said, "I'm not going to tell you everything." But there's stories and things that I saw. I saw I saw ancient people. I didn't know who these people were. They had on these rags, these clothes. I didn't know that that was not normal to dress that way during our lifetime. I had no idea who these people were. I, at the age of 5, opened the door to a man who was asking for some water and that he was hungry. And I yelled back into the kitchen to my mom and said, Mom, this man is hungry and wants some water. And she said, and she looked and saw him and she said, okay, I'll fix him a sandwich, honey. She was back in the kitchen fixing a sandwich. I sat at the door looking at him with a smile on my face. I couldn't open the screen door, but, I couldn't unlock the screen door. I couldn't do that, but I could open the door. So he's standing up there looking at me, and I'm looking at him, smiling, humming. And when I turned around to see if Mom was coming, and she was coming with his sandwich, and I turned back around to tell him, here she comes, he was gone. And my mom got to the door, and she goes, where did he go? Now, there's no way this man could disappear on the block like that, because you had to go down our front stairs, which was 6 stairs. You had to go past the little chain link fence, and then you had to go at least a block up one way or a block down the other way, or you could go straight down across the street, but we're going to see you. And he was nowhere. No car was there, nothing. There wasn't even a car outside to begin with. And the sun was out. And he was gone. He was completely, and my mom was like, where did he go? And I went, I don't know, Mom. And my little sister, who was in the kitchen, started crying. And when Mom went back into the kitchen to see what's wrong with her, and I was coming behind Mom, this man had walked through the wall. Somehow this man got in the kitchen. The only way he could get in the kitchen is if he opened up the back door, and the back door would have been open. But he was standing in the kitchen where my little sister was. He turned and saw us, walked over to the back door, opened the back door up, and walked out and shut the door. My mother stood there looking at me and looking at my little sister, and I'm looking at my mom, and she goes, don't you say a word about this. And I go, okay. So I go back up to the front, open up the screen door, and go back outside and play. And, thought about it, but I never said anything to anybody about it. But when we had family reunion, everything came out family reunion. Everything came out. So that came out too. And Mom was like, yep. And my little sister was like, yep, I remember that too. Because she was just 2 years younger than I was. So she remembered that. I didn't think she remembered it when we started bringing it up. But we had some really good experience in my life prior to that. But I guess I feel like I got cheated out of my black man love.
Interesting.
I gave it to my children, my boys, and they wind up with decent women. Well, the first ones didn't work, but the second ones did. But I feel like I got cheated out of that, my black man's love, and and I have to find a way to to deal with that now.
To reconcile with it, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to share that with you and with the audience, and hoping that it'll help other black women, because I know there's a lot of black women that get into what you call white relationships for various reasons. For those who do it for money, that is not a good thing. It's never been a good thing. I know it's a security thing, but it's just not a good thing at all.
Well, here you go. So the babies could come out with good hair.
Yeah.
Remember that one? You want your baby light skinned with good hair?
I heard that with I grew up with women that were light skinned, and I went to school with them in grade school, and I saw how they were treated over the really. I was like, you got your real dark skinned girls, then you got your light shade girls, and then you got your real high yellow girls, and I was caught in the middle of that whole battle because of the way I looked and the way I dressed, the way my mom dressed me all the time. And so the light-skinned girls were, you're one of us. You come over here with us. So, I'm going, okay, not knowing anything. And this is in grade school. And then the black girls would come out to play, and they would go away. You can't play with us. You're too dark. And I looked at these light-skinned girls, and I went, well, I'm going to go play with them then. So I go play with the dark-skinned girls, you know? And they would go, you can't do that. You are us. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So, and even to this day, my best friends that I've had for over 40-something years today are dark-skinned women. They're just beautiful to me. I don't have anything against any light-skinned woman out here or any light brown-skinned woman, but those women appreciated me so much for not making a difference in their lives that they're my friends. Even one of them to this day, the rest of them are passed away, unfortunately. My gosh, it's a sad story about all their lives at that time, you know, growing up as teenagers and in their 20s. I lost a lot of people from my high school in their, teenagers, really. From like 17 all the way up to their 30s, they were killed.
Wow.
They were killed. Right down here in Kansas City, they were killed. If they weren't killed out here on the streets, they were killed in prison.
So then you got to know that you have a divine purpose for still being here. If just about everyone else you grew up with are gone and you're still here, still got work to do, girl.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why I know and I want to ask you a question, and anybody else may have answers to this. I have several books. One's called The Syllabus of Oracle, and I have another one called The Oracle Isis. And it's talking about the divine guardians and the divine sisterhood. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, have you ever heard of these books? Because today, the divine guardian, divine sisterhood has some really powerful messages in there for us as women. How we have to build our sisterhood as Black women, and to help one another reach the pinnacle of who we are. Mm-hmm. So I'm really beginning to look into these oracles. And the reason why I started looking into this, because I read at one time, I read the Bible, though. I did. I took that Bible and I read it from the beginning to the end, and I went, what a confused book. I did. But the word it was confusing. Because I couldn't understand why this God was killing all these people. Mm. But anyway, I remember the word, and it said that these are written in the oracles. Mm. And I went, what is the oracles? Where do I find these books? So I got, and it said this book is written in the book of Jasher. This is written in the book of Enoch. This is written in the book of Jubilee. So I ran across all these books as I was going throughout my life. But they were a little bit more confusing. So, but the oracles I never ran across until recently, and I went ahead and got both of them. And I started looking into them, and I'm like, okay, there's some more. This has to do with us as a people. Mm-hmm. And I know there's teachings out there about, the oracles the reason why I love them so much, because they talk about love, period.
Okay.
They talk about love, period. And I do realize and know that you cannot forgive people who have killed your ancestors. I do understand that. But in order to have love in you, you got to learn how to love yourself first.
Right.
And then you have to enter and understand the love that you need to have for your family, for your people, and to remember that all what we call Caucasian or white people are not that. That some of these people are our family members who was taken away from us, put into white homes, and they don't know who the heck they are.
Excellent point. Excellent point.
So we have to be careful how we treat
and
these
have been
people.
raised as white. Mm-hmm.
If these people are nice to you and they embrace you and your truth, you need to embrace them because they can very well be family. And that's what I've been doing. I was at a point where I couldn't even look at a white person. I wouldn't even look their way. I would look past them and speak to my brothers and sisters. And then I got a hold of these oracles, and they said, you got to show love no matter what because you never know what may happen. And sure enough, I went through it. I went through a test, and it had to do with this white woman over here and this black woman over here. Our black women are hurt and don't know who they are so bad that I did a test and asked both women in different areas the same thing. And do you know the white woman helped and the black woman didn't? Matter of fact, she rolled her eyes at me. One of them said, "What are you talking to me for?"
Wow.
That's how
Wow.
hurt our black women are. And I told her, I said, "Sweetheart, you really need to love yourself." I am loving myself because I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm like, what? I said, no, you don't love yourself, but you need to go look in the mirror and tell yourself how much you love yourself, and you need to forgive yourself for all the bad choices that you made that caused you to be in the condition you're in right now. These women look at me and their eyes get big and they turn around and walk away, and I know that has an effect on them, and I know they're going to go and do that because it had an effect on me when it was said to me.
Hmm.
And I went and did it. And I stayed in that mirror until I couldn't cry anymore. I stayed there till I could, because I looked in that mirror and I told myself, I said, I love you. And I apologize to you for all the wrong decisions you made that caused your life to go in a spiral. And when I did that and said, but I love you. I love the way you look right now. I love your smile. And I broke and I wept and I had to get my composure back and do it till I stopped weeping, which I never did till the next day. And then the next day I went back and did it again. But by then I looked in the mirror, woke up. You have to do it first thing in the morning when you look your worst, that you think you look your worst, and you do it. And I did it again. And when I did it again, I busted out laughing. And I went, there it is. Now you know you love yourself. Yeah. So I did it every morning from that time on. Girl, I couldn't do it without laughing after that. I mean, I'm sitting here with a big old smile on my face just thinking about it. Just thinking about it now, because if I look in the mirror and say, I love you, I'll bust out laughing. And that's what you want, because now you're healing you. You're healing this body that you are energy inside of that you're using. You're healing this body. This body is gonna go. You're gonna take it off, but the energy inside is who you are. And I still tell myself that in the mirror. Wow, you're keeping that body well. Good job. So it's just good therapy for me, and it allows me to open up where I couldn't open up my throat chakra, and it was telling me I need to open it up so I can speak, and it's allowed me to open it up to speak. That's why I'm on the show today, because I was able to open that throat chakra up, and you just happen to be the kind person at the right moment at the right time that was available to let me do that. So my comments to women who are in these biracial relationship. That is right, biracial. Is that right? Is that the right word or right term?
Interracial.
Interracial. Thank you. Interracial relationship. Check yourself. Make sure that you're in them for the right purpose and not for the wrong purpose. Because later on the road, when you're a lot older, if they haven't already called you by a name, but this guy never has, even to this day, if they haven't called you by a name and degraded you in one way or another, which he hasn't done even to this, I think he knows who he is, so he won't do it, they will. And when you get older and they don't see you like they saw you when you were in your youth, they just might, and then you might walk away feeling like, you've been used.
Mm.
Yeah, you will have these beautiful children, but please let them know that they're who they are, and teach them to love themselves. But
Mm.
make sure they get with a black man, because they too will grow up and regret it. They too will grow up and regret it. We still have a lot of good black men out here. I know we do.
Yes,
Finding
we
them is
do.
probably like finding them is probably like looking for a gold mine or that diamond in the rough, but they're there, and we can vibrate them into our lives. I'm sure. I'm at a point in my life where if I meet that knight in shining armor, good. If I don't, it's still all good, because as long as I can reach out and encourage a couple that are black that are with each other, or reach out and encourage a black woman who's gone through something, or even a black man who's gone through a broken relationship, even with a white woman, because they're out there too. I pick them up in my Uber car. My
Ah,
goodness, yeah. And if I could record the conversations that I have with these people, and I have picked up over 2,000 people in my Uber car over the past 5 years, if I could record their conversations, you would not believe how many black men have been hurt by a broken relationship with Caucasian women.
mm.
And how many of those Caucasian women don't even know that they got black in them? That's the thing.
Hmm. Well, that sounds like
How
a
many?
dissertation project. PhD,
Well,
PhD. Sounds like a dissertation topic.
uh-oh. Well, sound like you're going to have to bring that topic up and make an issue.
I was raising it for you, dear.
Well, another topic, another day, another time. But I did want to share that, and I thank you very much, Miss Carter, for this time. I really appreciate it. It's been, oh my God, I feel some healing that have taken place. I'm still looking forward to living close to a beach, whether it's here in America or down in over in Africa or some small island. Raynetta, she's still she's in my dreams. I think we're meeting somewhere in this planetary system, because she not only came up with, I wanted to go to Africa to build homes. I drew pictures of these homes, and then she come up with and then I saw these round homes, and then she comes up with the drawing and going to Africa to build these homes, and I'm like, okay, she's younger than me. She could probably carry this project better than I can, but I want to build. I'm a craftsman. I'm a craftswoman.
Okay.
I like to build. I like to get the hammer out. I like to break things up. I'm sorry.
Hey, it's
I'm
nothing wrong with it.
I'm my mother's child. If she needed something fixed, she would come to me. She wouldn't go to the boys. If she needed something taken out of a knot, I don't care if it was a needle in a knot, I could get it out. A chain in a knot, a necklace, anything, I could get it out. If she needed something fixed, I would tinker with that thing. And if I couldn't fix it, nobody could.
Well, okay then. Go on, sister girl.
So I still have all that alive and effective in me, because that's just who I chose to be, even at this day and time. Um, I have a lot of challenges that are coming against me outside, just with what's happening to us as a people. This phone, I hate it with a passion, but I know we use them. But I have these Safe Connect things that I got offline and ordered, that I can put in my car and turn them on, and I can wear around my neck, and to protect me from all this electromagnetic. But you cannot be protected from these people listening in on your conversations, one
Right.
way or another, and interrupting that. So, but there are ways that we can protect ourselves, people, and that's what we need to be working on for most of this stuff. I just look forward to, I'm ready to go build. I'm ready to go help. I'm ready. I mean, I'm ready, to be honest with you. I'm ready to get out of the system. I could become a beach bum right now.
Mm. Sounds good.
I mean, I'm
Sounds
I'm
good.
serious. I could become a beach bum right now and just live on the beach and call it a day. But here in America, you can't do that because they'll come and make you, oh, you can't beach. The beach is closed. You got to get off of here. Da 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 da. You know, it's always something here, and I don't want to get angry with these people because I'll start doing Lucian karma.
It is
Whenever they
criminalizing every trivial little thing so that they can feed the prison system.
exactly, that's the same thing I said. That's the same thing I said. So if
Wow.
they can't do that, they're taking our organs, like the
Mm.
15-year-old, like the 15-year-old that was killed, and they took his leg. Why you take his leg? His mother was screaming about it. They took her son's leg, killed him, and his leg was missing. Up in Milwaukee, I think it happened in Milwaukee. My daughter was telling me about it. So, you know, um, I hope there are entities up there that are for us, and I hope they are, as Willetta said, they got weapons up there that they're shooting down here, causing problems, and you know, they're that the I heard that the ancestors have the Yellowstone, and they're just waiting for the opportunity time to let it blow. I hope that they keep everything doormat until the majority of the people that are supposed to get out the way are out the way, and those who are out the way stay safe. But
Mm.
from what I'm hearing, is the equator that they're all trying to get to, um, because of the ice age. They said that's coming, which I don't think it's. That's just my thinking. I don't see an ice age. I see more of America though being burnt. I do see America being burnt by fire because I've seen it too many times, dreamed it too many times as a young girl, as a young child, and saw the fire coming from the north and engulfing the whole planet from the north all the way down. I was up in the sky, but I was reaching down and pulling people up away from it. Everybody that grabbed a hold of someone, that as long as they was connected to me, I was able to lift them up. As long as they stayed connected, everybody was pulled up and was safe. But anybody that let go at any point that was connected, that whole connection below them, who let go, will fall down into the fire.
Mm.
So we are people that need to stay connected and hold on, because we are being rescued, whether we understand it, overstand it, or not. We are being rescued, and we will continue to be rescued until that last person is taken out of the way. And that are those that, and I'm speaking of those who are awakened and not walking in the dogma of the system, who are awakened and not walking in the foolishness of the religious sect. To those who are awakened or are not walking in that darkness and are walking in light and in love and in community, they're the ones going to be taken out of the way. I've seen it too many times. The last time I saw it was in '91, I believe, where I actually left my bedroom window and in the place where I was living and went up into the sky, and I looked to my left, there was thousands upon thousands of people. I looked to my right, there was thousands and thousands of people, and I knew every last one of their names. And
Wow.
we were all headed over to another part of the world. And at that time, I did not even know it was the mother. It was Africa. I had no idea. But we were headed out of America over to another part of the world, and I will never forget that as long as
Well, Sister
I go.
Takayah, I wanted to, if I may,
Yes,
um,
please.
I wanted to first say thank you for sharing your story. I know that, or the portions of your story that you shared, that we've talked offline, and I know there's more. And over time,
Oh my
we
God.
start to remember these things. But just talking from experience, I know once we share things, it provides a level of healing for us. But I just
Mhm.
know the listeners. There are so many people out there who have dealt with the abuse, the cheating spouses or mates, um, the blended families. and the dynamics that go along with that. And so many
Mm.
people turn to either the other race or the other another race or the other gender because of
Mhm.
all of the hurt and trauma that they've experienced with the gender or the person that's within their race.
Or even
And
prostitution. Even
or
prostitution.
even
I dealt with,
prostitution. Mm.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
so
dealt
I
with
just
those.
know that some people are going to hear your story and they'll be able to say, wow, if she made it through, I can make it through also. Or she made it through and she's now telling her story. Let me think and let me dig out my stuff and begin to vocalize where I am with it so that I can get my healing as well. And so I just
Absolutely.
want to thank you for that because it's all about, to me, on my channel, I just focus primarily, not primarily, but usually on healing. Whatever
Mhm.
your story is important, but the bigger thing is to get to a point of healing. Tell it.
Yes.
It is your story. Walk in it, live in it, be in it, express it, whatever it is you've got to do to get it out so that you can recapture the energy that it's holding and then turn around and transmute that energy into something positive for you going forward. Um, and so on behalf of all the listeners, I applaud you and I appreciate you for that. And then I also wanted to say the interracial relationship that you brought up, that, that's a hot topic, especially now that we have so many people who are becoming aware of some of the true history of the melanated people and the actual reality that the Caucasian people or the non-melanated people are also becoming aware of true history as well. And
Yes.
so I kind of straddled the fence with that, being honest with you,
Mhm.
because I have a heritage as well that's not totally melanated. So, and I have not experienced any negativity or any rejection as a result of my melanated side.
Yeah.
I
I
have
wasn't
that
either.
positive side, but then I
Mhm.
also have my melanated side that remembers and has seen and experienced all of the
Mm.
negativity that goes along with being melanated in this world.
Mhm.
Um, and then I do have friends who are in interracial relationships today. I just
True.
wanted to say, and I do have friends who have married outside of their race. And so
Mm.
I know that's going to be something that they're going to think about. And I would say to each his own. My personal preference is to stay within the race.
Oh yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
because I just, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice is my mindset.
Hello. Oh my goodness.
Um,
Yes, ma'am.
and somebody commented, or several of my sisters, we all married men darker than us, significantly darker than us.
Oh, I
And
would love to have done that.
we have all of on my mantle, I have pictures of, me and my husband, my sister, and her, another sister, and her husband. And someone came in and they looked and said, oh, all of y'all like dark men, don't y'all? And I said, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So, but to each his own, to each his own. That's something I think they'll have to
Oh.
think about. But you raised a
Mhm.
very valid point of going toward the Caucasian race because of what you experienced with black men. And here now coming full circle to the point of later in life realizing that you made a choice based on emotions and that choice didn't serve you well and you've lived to regret it, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that point out because those people who are in position to do different can do that before they get to, whatever point in life. And one
Yes.
last thing I want to say to you, girl, you ain't dead. Just because you haven't had the black
No,
man
this
yet
sister
doesn't
is
mean he
not
ain't coming.
dead.
That doesn't mean he ain't coming. He could be right
Oh
around the corner. He
no.
could be at CVS tomorrow when you go there to get your aspirin or something. Who knows? You know?
Girl, stop. Gotcha. Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Oh
where else
well,
you
I
go?
just want if they do
Kroger or whatever. Mm-hmm.
if he is, he better be ready to be a beach bum. Because I'm ready to just go and just. I mean, I just want to get out the system for a while. I just want to get out of the. No phones, no electronics. Just to just be. So, I mean, when I was South Africa when I was 28, we didn't have all the technology that we have today. And I keep reverting back there because it was one of the places where you couldn't even have a car because the gas prices back then was like $5 a gallon. But I got to ride in cars. I got to ride in Mercedes-Benz. Everywhere I went, I was in a Mercedes-Benz when I did get in a car. But you didn't want to get in the car because it was too much to see. You missed too much to be when you're in the car. You want to walk, or you want to. The main thing, we walked. We walked miles, 5 miles a day, and they would always go, "Let's get on the bus." I said, "No, let's walk." And it's like, "You always want to walk." I said, "Yeah, you get to see more, meet more people." I mean, the experience that I had for those 6 weeks that I was there at that time is enough to last. It was enough to last me, even that I could still talk about it today. It was like it was yesterday. That's how wonderful it was being around all those dark-skinned people, mixed families. Oh, there was mixed families there. Oh my gosh, it was Germans with Indian, from India. That's the family I stayed with. That's the family I stayed with, and they never charged me a dime. I didn't have to buy food. I didn't have to pay rent. They gave me my own bunk bed in the bedroom with the other family members that were in there, the girls. It was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience to watch him come in. The 2 months that I was there, she's sitting at the back door. She knew when he was coming in. He gave her his paycheck, kissed her on the lips, and it was gone. She's like, "Let's go. You're going with me." And she would go and put up things for the winter. In the summertime, she put things up for the winter in layaway and pay on it in layaway for the winter months. This woman was so amazing. She was so amazing. And she was German. She was German. But she was amazing. The way she took care of her household, and the thing about her family, there was 11 of us living in that house, and you never knew it. Because if the husband and wife got into it, they didn't do it there. They went elsewhere. The mother and father never knew there was a problem unless they invited them into it. You never heard anybody raise their voice. We did a lot of tricks on each other, even the dad. We did. We played a lot of jokes on each other. They found out I was a jokester, boy. It was on. But it was so much laughter there, even in the community that I was in. And it was community. It was community, guys. You had Muslims living maybe about 2-3 blocks around the corner. They were community. And you had us, and then you might have India, whole clan on the other side. You may have the Germans and those type of people. They were more down in the beach area, but they were racist. That was bad. That was bad. But they didn't bother me. They found out I was American. They were in shock. What's she doing here? And there was some more deep African people that thought I was a princess that ran away from one of their tribes, and they were going to try to take me back. And the guy had to tell him, "No, she's from America," and he made me speak to let them know. So I opened my mouth and spoke, and he was like, "Oh my gosh," in their language, "You are," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm from America."
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, let me go.
Yeah, but they didn't believe it, because of my skin color and everything. They're gonna take me back to their. They're gonna take me back to their king. I'm like, wow, this is really good experience here. But the overall view of Africa is that we got to keep Africa. We really do. And I'm doing everything I can metaphysics-wise to keep Africa, whether we make it back or not. My dream is to be buried in Africa, though. I don't want my body buried here. I want my body to be buried in Africa. I said that from the time my first trip over there. And even my trip to Israel, when I went twice to Israel, but even my trip to Israel, I felt that connection with Africa. And I was like, I want to be buried over here no matter what. I want them to wrap my body up and throw me in the ground by a tree or wherever. I just don't want to be buried here. I want my body here. I don't want to be here. But you guys definitely know everything and anything that go on with me, and I will keep you posted. Thank you so much, my dear Carter, Miss Carter. I don't know what to call you, Mother Carter. Can I call you Mother Carter?
Oh, I guess. I feel so old.
No, that don't make you old. You're wise.
You can
Okay,
call me Mama B.
I'm gonna call you. No, I'm gonna call you Wise Carter.
Because all of my kids, all of the nieces and nephews and kids, they either call me Auntie B or Mama B.
Mama B. I like that. Mama B. You know what? Because you remind me of the Mama B too. Because here we come, Mama B. You're there for us.
Yeah, that actually was my role, kind of de facto. It just I gravitated into it. It just growing up with all my friends, I was always the motherly one, the taking care of everybody and ensuring that
Wow.
we stayed on the straight and narrow and reminding people that it just I don't know, just it comes from
That's your
having
role.
people. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
And what your relationship with your mother must have been outstanding.
Not exactly. Not exactly. But we did have good times. It wasn't always totally bad, but uh I
Like the
would
rest
say
of
that
us.
right, right. Yeah.
Like the rest of us, yeah. But and I think that's like that with any of our families anyway. We have those mamas that my mother didn't know what to do with me, poor thing. I think about that now.
Hmm.
I feel sorry for her. But she told me if she told me before she died, her and my stepfather both told me if we had the trouble that you bring to this house, if all the rest of them would bring the same amount that you bring to this house, we would never have any trouble at all. And that's what she said to me, and that really made my day. I was 25 when she told me that.
Okay. Hmm.
So I didn't feel too bad. My mother wasn't big on accolades. She did when I was a baby. Of course, I found that out through my sister, who's 4 years older than me. But
Mhm.
like I told my sister, how you know she didn't lay those accolades on you? You just saw her do it to me.
Hmm.
But she did lay. I think my mother laid accolades on all her children. I really believe she did that. She was like that. She wanted to put those blessings on her children, and she laid great accolades on all of us. Even though I'm the one that heard about mine, I don't know about the others, but I did hear about mine. It caused a rip between me and my sister that's 4 years older than us. So I didn't know at the time. I just found this out 2 years ago. I never thought she had anything ill against me till then. But that's that Willie Lynch mind syndrome that
Mm.
we all get into. Because I'm the type of person, I've always been the type of person, if I hear mom late accolades that she did on my little sister, I didn't remember it, but I know she did. But I was always like, me too, mommy, me too. I was one of those kids. Of course, your mom's going to say, yes, you too, sweetheart. I was
Mhm.
always one of those kids that spoke up. That's just who I was. And I was always a child of justice. You have to render justice. I didn't like injustice. And I think that's what my mother struggled with mostly with me. And I was sent out to live with my uncle and aunt because I tell the truth. And I will snitch on. If they come and ask me, it wasn't snitching. It was just keeping somebody innocent from getting punished. So I
Hmm.
kept my other, yeah, so I kept my other brothers from getting punished by telling them what I saw. And it wasn't a lie, it was the truth. And I just didn't know I was snitching, though. I didn't even know I was snitching. That's what they said. You snitched on me. I said, what? I did not. You told Mom I had that. And I said, she asked me. You didn't have to tell her. And I was like, what was I supposed to
What
say?
were you supposed to say?
And that's what I asked her. What was I supposed to say? Well, you could have lied and said you didn't see it or you didn't this. I mean, these were my siblings who were years my senior. It's crazy. But I survived. They didn't kill me.
And that's why you survived, so you can meet your African prince or your African
Look at
king.
you. I'm gonna receive that girl, and I'm gonna make sure
Mhm.
you're there. I'm make sure you're there for the ceremony.
Mhm.
Oh, I love you so much,
We love you
Mama
too. I
B.
know.
Mama
Yes, yes,
B.
yes, 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 yes.
I
The
love
entire
you.
GBF. We're pulling for you, and you're gonna get through. Um, just in the stuff that we've talked about today, and I know some of the stuff we've talked offline. You're getting there. I
Right.
can just hear it in you. I can hear the
So thank you
releases.
so much.
I can hear the
Thank
healings, and don't be surprised if you hear me reference you. I don't usually call names, but reference some of your stuff in the healing happenings.
Thank you.
Periodically, I'll do updates with some of the progress that some of the family are making and things that they're
Mhm.
dealing with. Um, because it makes my day, and I know it makes the day of those who are
Mhm.
still struggling with things, because
Mhm.
always when you see someone else or you hear that someone else has made some sort of progress, that's motivation oftentimes to say, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So
It,
I like to put it out there in the healing happenings, and even in this, once it gets cleaned up and edited and some artwork and stuff like that done, and it goes out, people will hear and they'll say, okay, you know what? Yeah, she had been cheated on. She's had some abuse. She's had some disappointments in relationships. She even went to the other side. She went to start playing with the snowflakes, but she's come back, and you know what? I can too, type of thing. And so that's what our lives are about. It's about living,
okay.
learning, experiencing, and then turn around and sharing it with someone else.
So that's why they call you Mama B, because there you go doing it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're nurturing. You're nurturing. You're making me feel so good. And I mean, I really appreciate that. You just don't know the words. I need to hear those words so much coming out of other women's mouths. And just let me know that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing the right thing. Just encourage me to keep going, keep
Mm-hmm.
living. I needed this so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and your kindness and your love for the not just me but for the GBF family.
You're so very welcome. It is definitely my honor to be able to serve you all in whichever way um that comes up. It
But
it
your
varies.
legacy. This is your legacy, Mama B. This is your
Mm-hmm.
legacy, and it's going to be greater than even now. Okay, I'm
Wow.
going to have to go and say I love you and thank you for the time.